It's been on for a while.
Perfect. All right. Here's the panel side. Little anatomy on this saw. The business end is underneath this carriage right here. It's a circular saw blade, very similar to the table saw and the miter saw. It's below this, what we call a carriage. It's got the upgraded worm drive motor. I'm able to lock this carriage in place if ever I need to make a rip cut by rotating the blade. Welded steel frame is where our sheet stock will lean against. I've got aluminum rollers at the bottom here where our material rests on. It's not resting on the floor. I've got lots and lots of little extras on this saw. So a clamp right here. And I've got more clamps, bump stops, and some more common tools that we use for this machine right here. We've got dust collection. It's not hooked up right now, but it will get hooked up here pretty soon once we make some repairs to it. Any questions about what you see? I'll be blunt with you guys. This is my favorite machine in the whole shop. Okay, not because of the wonders of what it can do, but I worked for this company the last 2 years, and last year after the summer, they were so grateful for the work that I did and believed in the mission of what we're doing here. They donated this $12,000 saw to us for free. Okay. Talk about a good hire, right? But we had a panel saw here. It did excellent work. It was a 1982 model, okay, and it cut square, cut perfect, just like we expected it to up until 2024. 2024, we got upgraded to be about the equivalent to a Tesla Cybertruck as far as what this machine can do. Because I'll go through a little bit of it here, but we can really make this thing do some pretty special things as far as cutting wise. But let's go through some questions. If you guys have questions during the questions, let me know. Number one. The number one use of a panel saw in this class is to cut big sheets of plywood down to a finished size. That's true. Big circle, true. This saw is accurate down to a 32nd of an inch. That is real itty bitty. And for our projects, I'm asking for you to be accurate within a 16th of an inch. So they go far and above beyond that. Number two. The material you are cutting should always be riding on the red or aluminum rollers near the bottom of the saw. That's false. For big sheets, yes. For smaller stuff like this, we're going to install what's called the midway fence. The midway fence is hiding back here. Slides right into the slot right here. And it allows us to, instead of having to cut this piece down here on the ground, where I gotta bend over and basically be working off the floor, what the midway fence allows us to do is slide that board up here. Now I'm working comfortably, standing straight up and down. Pretty slick, huh? This is one of the upgrades that we got on this saw that the old saw did not have. Number three, in order to turn on the saw, there are two switches that must be engaged. That's false. This one has just got one. A little bit of a holdover from the last saw, but we've got one switch. Rotate it like a key. Turns it on, turns it off. Number 4, the panel saw can both cross-cut and rip sheet goods. What do you guys think? The answer is true, okay? When we're talking sheet goods, we're talking plywood, so that big piece that you saw me cross-cut before. But I'm gonna show you a rip cut right here, okay? And just about all panel saws can do this, but this is a machine that is almost standard in any cabinet shop. Just about every school has one, and it's not just because I work for the company. I think they're one of the most underutilized saws in the entire industry. P.S. Please put the midway fences back in here where they belong. Please don't just park them somewhere random, okay? So if I'm making a rip cut, I'm going to bring the saw carriage down. These red knobs right here will lock the carriage in place. And the most important thing is that you're going to pull these pins out right here and rotate the saw counterclockwise. Okay? Now that blade underneath is going to be spinning like this, so I'll be able to push against the blade to make my rip cut. Pay attention to my hand position, where I'm placing my body on here as I'm making this rip cut. So after I have the saw set up, and by the way, you can use this pointer right here to get the exact width of rip that you want. It operates very similar to our table saws. Okay, in my opinion, it's easier to just slide along the wheels a big sheet like this as it is to hold the piece up and try to run that through the table saw. Okay. My hands were on top of the board. My hands did not go underneath here. What's underneath here? The saw blade. So it's not a great place for my hands to be. Once I got to this clamp bar right here, another upgrade that they gave to us to just help keep that sheet stock down onto the frame here. Once my hands come even with that, that's when I walked around to this side. It's not like the table saw where you have to hold it and try to grab your push stick. That's why I kind of did the jazz hands as I was walking through here. But then it was important that I grabbed both the top and the bottom piece as I was cutting through. I'm not just grabbing with one hand the piece and pulling it through. I need to be holding on to that top piece that's going to get cut off, because this one could potentially get kicked back if I'm not supporting this one as well. Okay, a lot of times too, as I'm rip cutting on the panel saw, I'll bring it out even further, kind of like the table saw where I'm pushing beyond the blade, just so that I know that I've cleared that potential kickback danger. Makes sense on rip cuts? And once I'm done, should I just leave the saw like this and then go on my merry way? No, please put it back. However, if you go to try to put it back and you see that the labels on here are all upside down, you've got it the wrong way. The rotation of the blade is really important, and it's probably not going to get caught right away, and it will click into place the wrong way, okay? When we rotate this back, it'll click into place, and all of the labels and whatnot will be reading straight up and down. Loosen these red handles and bring the saw back up to its resting position. Make sense? Number 5, the main area that the saw motor rides on is called the saw carriage. That's true. In my opinion, it's overbuilt, but I like it that way because it is extremely hard for my hand to get behind this carriage to access that blade. Okay, so I've heard of tons of accidents on a table saw. I've heard of very few accidents on the panel saw. Okay, pretty much our hands are out here, away, the blade is guarded behind the saw carriage. We're not interacting with it at all. Pretty sweet. Number 6, this machine should be used to cut lumber or plywood accurately. That's true. Number 7, when using this machine, one does not have to worry about the power cord location. Yes, you do. Power cord is this guy right here. So the answer is false. Please don't cut it off. This, the answer, okay? At the very bottom of my cut, this should just be a little bit engaged. It shouldn't be bending over like a fishing rod, and this shouldn't be loosey-goosey right here. If done right, this has been engineered so that it's very hard for the cord to get put back behind the saw carriage. All right, but if this isn't adjusted properly, or if you notice there's a lot of tension on there, or there's a lot of excess on there, it could potentially get pulled underneath that saw carriage and get cut off. It happened 3 times at Cambridge Wesleyan High School. I was there. Very shocking experience, shall we say. Don't want that to happen to you. Please be mindful of the power cord location. Do you have a question about that, Logan?
Yeah, it was about 3 times. It's just like, you cut it off before too, right?
This one, no.
The other one, no?
At another school I taught at. Cambridge was cut off 3 times. Number 8, when setting up a rip cut with plywood, you just pull the pins on the saw and turn the saw bracket counterclockwise until it locks in place. The answer is true. Questions on the front side? All right. Number 9, when ripping, the direction you feed the lumber really doesn't matter. That's false. We're going to feed from right to left. Right to left. Right to left. I like to think about this room as the opposite of reading class. I love reading, not knocking reading, but it's the opposite of reading class because we don't typically do the things in reading class that you do. Likewise, we're going to do about everything else opposite of reading class. Reading, we read from left to right. For a lot of applications in woodworking, carpentry, and construction, we're going from right to left. And we're always talking as the operator working with the machine, your rights and your lefts. Number 10, the red knobs are used to lock your saw's carriage in place when ripping. That's true. Those are these guys right here. Additionally, we don't need to over tighten them. Get them snug to where you're capable of turning them more, but I don't want you hockey and football guys to just ream on these things so we can't get them back, or we bust that plastic piece. Once they're locked in place to the width that you want, based on this pointer right here, then we pull those pins, rotate it in place until it locks. I imagine we're going to do this a lot in this class, okay? When we got this saw donated last year, it was like a week before the construction class ran, and a lot of the old systems were still in place, and we didn't have time to really play with and use this. After a year, we're playing this thing like a grand piano, and I'm a master musician. If that analogy makes sense. Number 11, it is okay to cut solid lumber on this machine, hardwood or 2x4s. The answer is yes, or the answer is true. It is okay. However, I prefer you guys to use the miter saws that we have in here. Maybe even write that, cut 2x4s with miter saws. And the only reason is because we've got a lot of you in here. We'll have a lot of sheet stock that we got to process. it'll get backlogged pretty quick if we're using this for every cut. Okay, it's very nice because it spaces us out. We're not all on the table saws anymore ripping sheet goods. We can primarily use this for ripping sheet goods in this class. Number 12, when operating the saw up and down, if it doesn't move freely and smoothly, go and get the teacher. And it's true. A couple things could be going wrong. Might just need some lubrication. These bearings are pretty darn good, but sawdust is challenging when we need things to move smoothly. Or it could be the counterbalance system. So behind this cord right here is our aluminum backing, and inside of there is a counterbalance weight that helps us lift this extremely heavy saw motor back up without even much labor, much muscle required. The inventor of the panel saw had polio back in the 40s and 50s, and so he was a woodworker and carpenter, but he wasn't able to use the table saw and haul the sheet goods like he typically could when he was healthy. So he invented this machine so he could bring the saw head through the lumber instead of the lumber through the saw. Just makes a more simple application. So that's the big mission of why the saw is in existence. And on that note too, if anything else is misbehaving in this class, machinery-wise, okay, if the machinery is not doing as it's supposed to, please let me know. I'm sure you guys will tattle on each other when you guys are misbehaving. 13, when you are done with this machine, you must clean up all the wood scraps and sawdust left around this machine. That's true. Okay? We'll get dust collection hooked up here soon, but still, the saw that we had here before was from 1982. Okay, it cut wonderfully, original motor, original everything. This one will as well. Okay, but I still want to maintain it so that we've still got all the beauty that you see here and it functions properly. Okay, if we start to neglect it, okay, things could go wrong on it. So please make sure you're cleaning up your mess after you make it. Fair? Number 14, this machine will not cause the plywood to chip out with a proper blade. That's true. It's a big reason to pay attention to Mr. Carver's geometry class. Okay, blade angles and spaces and dimensions and bevels and angles and all that stuff really matters when we're cutting different pieces of material. Okay, we've got aluminum cutting blades for this machine. We've got hardwood cutting blades. Right now we've got a blade in here that will cut plywood for us very smoothly because before you guys, a cabinetry class runs in here and we'll be cutting out some fine furniture with the panel saw. Okay? (15) At all times you must make sure your fingers never go below the material you are cutting. That's true. Primarily the case with rip cutting, but I mean it can be the case for cross cutting as well. Or if your hands are back here, you can't tell where your fingers are. And your fingers are longer than you think they are, and your hand is longer than you think it is. Your arm is longer than you think it is. Okay, because as you're cutting, you don't want to be.
All seniors with the last name H through M and PSCO, please head to the auditorium. Again, all seniors with the last name H through M or PSCO, please head to the auditorium now.
So we want to keep our hands where we can see them whenever we are working in here. If at any time you lose sight of your hands, that's when accidents can happen. Okay? Primarily what this looks like is when we're treating this kind of like a table saw, we're making those rip cuts. If I'm making this rip cut right here, It's real comfortable for my right hand to go behind the material that I'm cutting. Okay? And just ergonomically speaking right here, my hand is right in line with the blade. If I don't stop where I've asked you to stop, and I keep going, because after all, it fits. All right, right here, I'm going to interact with that blade, and it's not going to be a fun interaction, if you know what I'm talking about. Okay? Keep your hands where you can see them. 16 is the pledge question. If you're going to use the saw and follow the safety rules in the shop, circle true. If you have any questions on the questions, now is your time to ask. Yeah, Logan.
Last year, did you show that it comes off with it?
I did. So, Logan asked a good question. Now, it's going to be rare for us to use it in this class. But it's kind of fun to see. So this saw head can actually come off, and we can install a router carriage onto it, so that this thing can make different operations on here. It's kind of cool. I'll set it up here for you so you guys can see it, just for fun. Take power off, take dust collection out. It's not going to turn on me. There's 2 thumb screws up here, and they market this where you can change these out in under a minute. Were you guys in class that I showed you how to put a dado blade in the table saw? Or was that the first hour? Must have been first hour. So, these 2 thumb screws come out. And some of this is proprietary right here. These little feathery looking things, brushes, thank you. The brushes actually can't be bought from Safety Speed. They were testing it out on us. See how we liked them? Liked them great, so thank you, Safety Speed. Whoops. Then I noticed that the stickers were upside down, so that's why I made that flip. Same thumb screws get attached right here. And now instead of a rip cut, now I can make some dados, rabbets, V grooves. This is a really powerful thing when we can interchange these 2 different saw heads. So pretty cool. Thanks for asking, Logan.
Yeah. Surprised I remembered about it.
Any other final questions on the panel? Awesome. We're going to pivot over.